Alrighty guys, it is Quaman here today, and I'm bringing you another Dragon Ball Z segment on Is Vegeta a Bad Father? And this was a partnership video that I decided to make with Blackenfist, who made a video in sync with mine called Is Goku a Bad Father? So in today's video, for both me and Blackenfist respectively in our own videos, we will analyze key fatherhood moments of the show, and we will evaluate whether or not these Saiyans were good or bad fathers. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. Please check out Blackenfist's video below in the description as to whether or not Goku was a bad father. So let's get started. So, one of the first moments that should be mentioned took place during the Android Saga. This is really the first time we saw Vegeta and Baby Trunks in the same vicinity. Now, the situation includes Dr. Gero essentially nuking the entire area, leaving Bulma and Baby Trunks in a life-or-death situation. Vegeta's action included not doing anything at all, allowing his son to essentially save himself and his mother coming from another timeline. This was one of the first acts of fatherhood shown from Vegeta, and it started off on a bad note. So this is example number 1 of bad parenting from Vegeta. The next act wasn't shown to the same extent in the manga as compared to how it was shown in the anime, but it involved Vegeta's time in the Hyperbolic time chamber. Now, as many of you may recall, the act of fatherhood here was obvious. It was the fact that Vegeta refused to train with Trunks during their year in the Hyperbolic time chamber. Now, many of you can argue that it was Vegeta's personality, but I beg to differ. It was an act of fatherhood since it appears as if Vegeta rejected his own son. Who knows, if Vegeta decided to train with Trunks, they could have become even more powerful once they exited. But as far as parenting goes, here is another bad act of fatherhood from Vegeta. We then move on to the fight against second form Cell. This was arguably the biggest, if not one of the biggest highlights of fatherhood for Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. During the fight against second form Cell, Vegeta, drugged by his own Saiyan pride, allows Cell to absorb Android 18 to transform into his perfect form. But in this case, it wasn't Vegeta's pride that made him a bad parent. It was the fact that he knew that Trunks was much stronger than Cell, just like he was, and viewed Trunks as a threat to stopping Cell from transforming into his perfect form. And as a result of this, Vegeta temporarily engaged in a fight with his son to stop him from stopping Cell. This was yet again another terrible act of fatherhood for Vegeta. So, as you can see, the first few major acts of fatherhood for Vegeta were terrible. But here is what I call the transition in Vegeta. Probably one of the biggest highlights for Vegeta in the entire series takes place during the Cell games. Right after Cell comes back from King Kai's planet, he blasts Trunks through the chest and kills him. To everyone's shock, Vegeta charges right at Cell in a feat of rage to try to avenge his dead son. So, you're probably wondering, how is this a good act of parenting? But let's think about it for a second. Even though Trunks is dead, Vegeta's emotional attachment to Trunks finally rose to the surface. Whatever possibility there was left of Trunks being around, Vegeta made an attempt to avenge him or protect him none the least. But most importantly, I think this was a good sign of parenting based on the circumstances. We all know that Gohan was about to fight Cell in what could have been an awesome fight that was never seen, and we all know that Gohan was the only one who stood a chance against Cell. And Vegeta, knowing he stood no chance, charged Cell anyways like a parent would do for their child in a desperate or life-threatening situation. And because of this act, Vegeta gets his first kudos on being a good parent. We then move on to the next arc in Dragon Ball Z, where we see Vegeta training Trunks in Bulma's gravity chamber. Now, there isn't much to say here except for the fact that Vegeta was shown training with his son, which is a huge difference from what we saw from Vegeta previously, where he refused to train with the future Trunks. Now, even though Vegeta punched Trunks right in the face, even though he promised not to, is completely irrelevant to the entire story of parenting, since Vegeta actually took the time to bond somewhat with his son and to make him a better fighter. Vegeta even offers to take Trunks to the park if Trunks successfully hits him, which shows that he has truly grown an attachment to his son. And because of the overall changes that took place in those 7 years, Vegeta gets another kudos on being a good parent. Now, we move on to what many of you were probably expecting to be the highlight of Vegeta's parenting that took place during the Buu Saga. Vegeta, possessed by Babidi, overcame it all through his strong will and Saiyan pride and decided to face Babidi and Majin Buu. After facing Majin Buu, Vegeta, realizing he stood no chance against Buu, realized the best way to take Buu down was to blow himself up. Now, some of you may be thinking that he was dumb for doing that since there were other ways he could have tried to stop Buu, but at the end of the day, it's the reasons Vegeta did it that made this a good act of parenting. Vegeta gave his life up for Trunks, Bulma, Goku, and all of the others who could have been affected by Buu, which made this a good act of fatherhood. He sacrificed his life to protect the lives of others, but especially his son, which was shown in the scene where he told Trunks essentially that he loved him without exactly saying the words, and he told him that he was proud of his son, which was a huge transition in Vegeta throughout the series. Overall, so far we have 3 acts of bad parenting and 3 acts of good parenting from Vegeta. In order to make a final judgment, let's analyze the whole situation here. Vegeta started off as a bad father, but not only as a bad father, he was a bad person overall. Over time, as other characters grew onto him like future Trunks, Bulma, Goku, and the main timeline Trunks, he softened up and truly cared about the other characters. I know many of you don't consider GT a legitimate continuation of the series, but if you look at that show for facts, you will realize that Vegeta spent time bonding with Bulma, which is still a part of fatherhood. Making a final judgment on whether or not he was a bad father takes me to the end of Dragon Ball Z. This is where Vegeta tells Trunks to enter the tournament and threatens to cut Trunks' allowance if he didn't go. That's something a regular father would say, which shows that Vegeta has adapted to being a parent for the better. Now, I'm sure we can all agree that Trunks, as rich as his family is, shouldn't get an allowance at all, but this scene shows that Vegeta truly cares about his son and wants the best for him. He especially doesn't want Trunks to get lazy, and he wants to teach him strict discipline. Because of this, I conclude ultimately that Vegeta isn't a bad father. So guys, that has been my video for today. Overall, although some of you may have thought that Vegeta was a bad father overall, analyzing major acts of fatherhood proved me otherwise. I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts on him being a bad father or not. Also, please check out Blackenfist's new video on was Goku a bad father or not to get his perspective on the other Saiyan to this equation. Also, remember to please subscribe to Blackenfist as we will continue to make partnership videos, and also because he is my backup channel. But overall, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.